Hey guys, welcome to Logical Latte, a channel solely dedicated to giving you a jolt of logic within the political sphere. Oh boy, the polls are tightening, and you can see it. The left is absolutely panicking. But for sure, the excitement is brewing. As Barack Obama said 12 years ago, today we are 5 days away from the fundamental transformation of the country. And only time will tell if that transformation will be shaped in a good way or not. So in this video, what we're going to try to do is read some tea leaves and see if we can sift through some of that media bias. But before we get into that, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell to make sure that you're notified when I upload a new video. Sharing this video is a great way to support the channel and help our message be heard. It's important to stand together so that we can fight against the media bias. Polls are always so predictable. I have never seen a political poll that leaned to the right months out from an election. You know, during the summer before an election, the polls are always trying to shape public opinion and always trying to suppress any kind of enthusiasm that the right may have for a particular candidate. But as we get closer and closer to the election, polls always seem to tighten. And the reason for that is that these polling firms do not want to lose any credibility. So I believe that voter enthusiasm cannot be polled. I also think that the Trump presidency is something that we have never seen. I don't believe you can poll Trump. I think that there are too many factors that just don't seem to come across in a polling situation. So check out this piece from the New York Times, of all places. This guy is actually on the ground in Pennsylvania, and he says that everywhere you look, there are Trump signs. The enthusiasm is everywhere. I see it in my own town. When I talk to my family who live in other parts of the country, they see it too. I mean, it's right in front of our eyes, and we can see it everywhere. There has never been a presidential candidate who has had so much support that people would have spontaneous boat rallies or golf cart rallies or car rallies. It is history in the making. I mean, it is history that we'll be able to tell our children and our grandchildren about. But let's read a little bit of this article here. He says, polls show that Mr. Biden is leading by 5 to 13 points. But I grew up around here, and I'm dubious. This place, the land of hoagies and Bradley Cooper, and Rocky Balboa worship, and Tina Fey's Cousin Karen accent, has transmorgified into Trumplandia. He has so much more support than in 2016. Because it's been 4 years of accomplishments, said Dariana Thompson, 49, a homemaker who was talking with a group of women outside the Trump store. They were part of a caravan that had just encircled the Democrats' rally to say bye-bye to Biden and let his supporters know that they were outnumbered. I mean, that just doesn't happen for any presidential candidate, and especially a presidential candidate that's losing by 13 points. And when it comes to the Rust Belt, there is another factor that the pollsters just cannot poll, and that is the Amish. Look at this article. It says, Trump has also reached out to the Amish and made history as the first president to meet with the sect leaders at the White House. The president won Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes in 2016, and Ohio by nearly 500,000. A group called Amish PAC has raised and spent more than $100,000 on outreach to the Amish this cycle. Ben Walters, who leads the group, told the Washington Post that he thinks the tide is turning. Since 2016, every single year, it gets a little bit easier. We're seeing more and more signs of progress. I think behaviors are finally changing. Now, don't get me wrong. I will look at mainstream media and I will look at mainstream polls and I will get a little anxious because, you know, they just seem so sure of themselves. They have Biden winning by, 12 points, 14 points, and they just seem so sure that it makes me wonder if the things that I'm seeing with my own eyes are just an illusion. But the one thing that I have noticed, and it's interesting, in 2016, they always talked about the Reagan Democrats coming out for Trump, the Reagan Democrats, the Reagan Democrats. And I have not heard Trump Democrats at all this cycle. So they're not taking into account any of the Democrats that are, walking across the aisle and voting for Trump. I think that there are a lot of those, especially in the Rust Belt, because that's how he won in 2016. But they're not talking about it, and they're not even saying anything about how that's even a possibility. So when they talk about the polls, how they are right now, and how the absentee and early voting is coming in, and Biden and Trump are neck and neck, and so many of the Democratic ballots are coming in. Well, just because they're registered a Democrat, that does not necessarily mean that they are voting for Joe Biden. So let's just always keep that in mind, because there was a Reagan Democrat and there was a Trump Democrat, and they're just not talking about the Trump Democrat right now. Not only is there a Trump Democrat, but there is also an African American Democrats voting for Trump. People who have voted Democrat their entire lives and have decided to move over and vote for Trump. When President Trump became the nominee in 2015, his first outreach to the Black community was, hey, look over here. What do you have to lose? And I think a lot of Black people looked around at their cities and said, you know what? What do I have to lose? I've been voting Democrat for the last 50 years, and it has gotten me nothing. The Democrats will come out every 2 to 4 years, and they will ask for the vote, and they will expect the vote. And then, once they have power, they do nothing. Barack Obama is a perfect example of that. He did nothing for the Black community. And when Trump became president, he actively reached out to the Black community, and he made criminal justice reform work, and he got it passed. He's supported HBCUs, and he's funded them for 10 plus years. And I think that a lot of African Americans in the community are seeing this and saying, you know what, he does care. So I know that the left likes to make Trump seem as that he's some racist, but I gotta say, he's done more for the African American community in the last 3.5 years than most Democrats have done in the last 40 to 50, and I think it shows. So look at this. Rasmussen reports, if the presidential election was held today, would you vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden? The national daily Black likely voter percentage today is at 31%. 5 days out from an election. That is amazing. That will swing an election. That is huge. So Donald Trump in 2016 won 14% of the Black vote. He has more than doubled, according to this poll, more than doubled his support with the African American community. And that is huge. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what's going to happen, because I don't. But according to what I see in front of me and what I see online and what I see when I'm out in my community, there's just so much excitement for Trump that I cannot see how he won't be elected in a landslide. I mean, Biden cannot draw flies to his rallies, his car rallies, or whatever they are these days. Nobody's excited to see him. Nobody wants to go. I mean, even Obama barely draws anybody to his rallies. He had a rally not too long ago where it was invite only, and they only invited 100 people, and that was real suspect to me. I'm not sure how that just didn't seem right. So, when you talk about the two candidates, I know this election is Trump against Trump. It's either you like Trump and you're going to vote for Trump, or you hate Trump and you're going to vote for Joe Biden. because we're not even talking about the whole like corruption thing, but Joe Biden is the worst candidate that the left could have put up against Trump. You know, when Trump became president in 2016, I think that a lot of people were skeptical because he didn't have a voting record. No one really knew where he was going to go with his legislation. I mean, he was a New York liberal is what we thought. And, you know, he has had results. And the results are huge, whether you're talking about the things that were happening with the economy before the pandemic, or if you're talking about what's going on in the Middle East and the peace treaties that are coming to fruition, things that we've wanted as a society for the last 25 to 50 years. And so I think that President Trump has really opened the eyes to a lot of people and the corruption that goes on in Washington. When he said that he was going to drain the swamp 4 years ago, I didn't really know what he meant. And I think now, having seen what the swamp can do and how creepy and full it is, I think that a lot of people see it, and I think they want him to finish the job of draining that swamp. And I think only he can do it. So the swamp has been tough. The swamp has fought back, and they've used everything in their all the arrows in their quiver in order to try to defeat Trump. And I'm amazed that he's still standing, but it's because he's gotten results. So my prediction is that in 5 days, well, I don't know. I mean, my prediction is that he will win the presidency. I don't know if it'll be in 5 days, but we'll see. But anyway, that's about all I have for this video. So make sure that you do me a favor and like and subscribe to my channel. Like I said, it's important for us to make sure that we get our word out and we stick together and beat the media bias. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.